I'm going to introduce you to my grinding setup here, such as it is. It's a work in progress, obviously. What we have right here is a, I believe, half-horse, three-phase motor hooked up with a taper that I cut on the shaft to match a standard grinding wheel holder. And over here is a counterweight, just consisting of a bunch of sandbags, and another weight here consisting of shot. This carriage is mounted on 3 air bearings, one of which maybe you can see, one of which is buried back over there, one of which is back here. Here is a thermocouple reader hooked up to 2 thermocouples, one down here and one up here, so I can kind of monitor the temperature differential between the 2 locations. The grinding setup is guided by this steel square tube, which moves back and forth. You'll see indexes as I go ahead and make some passes here. The straight edge is mounted on balls that are captured in these brackets. The brackets are adjustable up and down using screws and can be moved in and out. The center is stabilized right now with a wood block and a wood wedge just trapped there to prevent rotation on the balls, although there isn't much tendency for rotation anyway, but it does capture it that way. Let's go ahead and make some passes, and maybe this will start to make a little bit more sense to you. I left this yesterday after grinding just as it was, and then it was just barely making any contact, and this morning I've passed back and forth a couple times and just again barely made contact. The motor and wheel here are adjustable with a screw that I really can't show you very easily right now, but trust me that I can adjust this a little bit downward by making a slight tweak here, and I think now we'll make a little more contact. So we're making contact all the way across. That's about what I want, because I know that the center of this straight edge was down 0.0005, that is 5/10 compared to the ends here. And that is because there was about a 7 to 10 degree differential between the sole and the bow when I finished grinding last night. So it went ahead, as you'd expect, the heat caused the sole to bow upward, and then as it cooled off, it sank back down. What I don't know is if any of those passes, if those passes are taking off appreciable material. I don't have enough experience yet to know that, because this is a pretty new setup. So I'm going to use my surface gauge here and a dial indicator to see where we are. And it looks like that pass that I just did removed very little material, as you might expect, because you could see that there was very little actual evident contact. So I'm going to turn down just a little more here and gradually see if I can find out what it takes to start to make some progress. You can tell that there's a lot more contact now. I just indexed over a couple of notches. And a couple more notches. I think 2 notches, if I recall correctly, was 50 thousandths per traverse in the Z direction, with the Z axis being parallel to the spindle. The air bearings allow this whole contraption to move pretty effortless. You can see that there's a little downward slope of my granite surface plate here, and if I just take my hands off, the thing starts to move. And so I use a wedge to stop it. Let's take another scan here and see where we are. See if I can find a towel to wipe off the minimal grip that occurs here and get another sense as to what's going on. What I'm seeing there is about 1/10 or less of deviation. I wish I could show you that. It just isn't convenient to go back and forth between the tripod. But that'll be just fine for scraping purposes. My goal here was to provide a straight edge that is machined to within a couple of tenths or so that somebody could go ahead and then take it and scrape it with very little leveling or step scraping that might be necessary. I certainly believe if you can get within a couple tenths or so that's a surface that's going to scrape in very, very easily. I'm going to check my temperatures. Right now I have about a 1 degree temperature differential just from that little bit of scraping. You might ask why I'm not using Fudd coolant on this, and that is because I think I can get away without it, and the coolant, water and stuff getting on this surface plate doesn't interact well with the air bearings. It tends to make things start to drag and hang up. So I'm going to try to get away without that by making light cuts and giving the casting some time to rest in between cuts. But right now I'm going to turn off the camera because I don't think there's much advantage in you watching me spend a half an hour or an hour grinding this, doing the same thing over and over. But I will make a scan at the end so we can see where we end up.